We've got no choice. Call the Ghostbusters.
Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command.
Oh, command me, Lord!
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Beautiful!
That's Frost. It's slime time.
Greetings, ethereal beings, subhuman entities, and spectral forms from the great beyond, and any living humans who may be watching. Welcome to episode 10 of Hudson Valley Slime Time. I am your host, Jason, and the marketing director of the Hudson Valley Ghostbusters. I am joined here with my co-host, Matt, who reminds me to ask you, if you like what you see here, to please push the like and subscribe button. What's up, Matt?
Hi, Jay. Gee, I gotta follow that intro now.
Told you I had a good one.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt. I am the executive director and co-founder of Hudson Valley Ghostbusters. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that raises money in the Hudson Valley area for charity. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about who we are and what we do, you can go to our website, hvgb.org, and look at who we are, what we do, photos of events we've been to, our team members, our vehicles, equipment, and so on. Additionally, you can also go back to some of our previous episodes, specifically episodes 1, 2, and 3, where we go a little more in-depth into what it is we do.
Yeah, what is it we do? Oh, yeah. All right, and today we have Steve and John joining us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
Glad you guys could join us for our talk on Frozen Empire today.
Glad to be here. I don't enjoy the movie
Ditto.
at all. It was...
Well, November's a little slow for us.
We're going into the holidays. It's our best season.
But, I mean, we did have one cool thing we did this past month. We got to appear on the Q92.1 Marino in the Morning talk show.
We did. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was less than 10 minutes of airtime, but it was actually a lot of fun. Chris and Felicia were absolutely amazing. They loved having us there. I guess they want to do more with us in the future, so that's even great.
Yeah, so going into December, obviously it's the holiday season, that charitable feeling of giving everyone is supposed to have, hopefully. Every year, HVGB joins with Fearless Hudson Valley, located in Newburgh, New York. They are a shelter for domestic abuse. And we will adopt a family and join their holiday gift project to buy gifts for families in need. We've been doing it about 6 years in a row now. Most of the team joins in, just buy a little something, and yeah, we hopefully make a family's holiday better for them. Okay, we are now going to kick it over to our trivia master, Corey, for a section we call There Is No Dana, Only Trivia.
Hey, thanks for joining me for There Is No Dana Only Trivia segment of the podcast. Here are the trivia rules. I've written 5 questions, each worth a maximum of 20 points. You can also earn 10 points for partial correct answers and 10 points for bonus questions. Make sure to write down each question on a separate sheet of paper as large as possible so that you can show the camera during the answer segment at the end of the podcast. Any questions?
Did they get easier?
Possibly.
Far.
Well, I dominated the
Did it?
Ghostbusters 2 trivia, so I'm feeling hopeful.
All right. Cool. Well, let's dive right in. First question. What is the name of Ray Stantz's new video series where he interviews people who claim to own haunted objects?
Ooh, boy, I really should have rewatched the movie for this.
That's what I was just thinking.
How much does spelling count?
It doesn't.
Perfect.
Okay, question number 2. Where does Podcast tell his parents he is visiting for the summer instead of where he actually is in New York City?
Sharpie's getting a little fuzzy. I might have to get a new one here soon.
Best part is with my handwriting, I can tell you I wrote just about anything.
I wrote what he wrote.
It's a psychic paper. We see what we want to see.
We'll bring another franchise into this.
Oh, sorry. The TARDIS is behind.
All right, question number 3. What is the name of the machine found at the Paranormal Research Center used to remove ghosts from haunted objects and also later used by Phoebe to temporarily unalive herself?
Technically, she doesn't unalive herself because her body's still alive.
Hey,
Was it a dustbuster?
Technically comatized herself.
all right, question number 4. Nadim's family is from a long line of ancient Ghostbusters known as the Fire Masters. Centuries ago, they trapped Garaka in an orb crafted from what material?
See, I started writing before you finished the question. And then
You thought it was a
it
different
turns out
question.
you weren't asking what I thought you were asking.
It took a turn. It took a turn left. It took a left turn in Albuquerque.
That's not the direction I
Ah,
thought that
yes,
was
the
going.
glyphy thing. Yes, you have an eye, I see.
Like,
I love it. He's like 60.
yeah.
I don't have change.
Okay, the final question, and this one does also have a bonus. So, question number 5. What is the final object we see the possessor ghost inhabit before it seemingly meets its end? And the bonus for a bonus 10 points, what is the second to last object we see possessed by it? So just before
Thinking.
it leaps into the final object.
something in between.
That's what I'm thinking. Was there something in between? I'm actually proud of myself because I have I answered 4 of the 5 questions, so
Hey,
I feel
there you
I
go.
did above my average.
Very
I'm
nice.
confident on 3.
Well, I will be back at the end of the podcast, and we'll go over the answers.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for messing with our minds here.
Always a pleasure.
Highly anticipated Haslab that some of us, I don't know, did everybody here buy into the Haslab 2 in the box?
I did.
I
I
think
did.
so.
Yep.
All right, so
Yep.
I can go the step further because I was at Rhode Island Comic Con last weekend, and Haslab was there with the final product 2 in the box.
Nice.
So I got
How'd
to
it look?
play with the PK meter. It looks amazing. So turns out the PK meter even has a function that I didn't know it was going to have, right? So you can control the wings. They go up, they go down. It's got the taser function. It's got the EMF detector, which will make the wings go up and down. But it also has pre-programmed movie accurate sequences
Oh,
where
I
the
didn't know
PKE
that.
meter will replay a PKE meter sequence from the movies.
Interesting.
Huh.
okay, that's cool.
That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That's a nice little
That must be
tidbit
new.
that
I
we
don't
didn't know.
remember. I don't remember seeing
Yeah.
that in any of
I
the.
don't remember them saying anything about it. He just showed it to me.
Yeah, because I even
Oh.
watched the Adam Saddam video of him unboxing it, and he didn't even say anything about the EMF either.
He did.
No.
So
Which
It
is
was more
weird.
like a
That's
ki-
one of the functions I was most excited about. I've been talking about making a ghost costume for one of my kids and just putting a ton of magnets in it.
I think that's one of the functions that a lot of people have been really excited about is to have the EMF function.
Yeah.
But the Adam Savage video was just like, it was like a kid on Christmas morning opening it, playing with it, like throwing it around, and then like it wasn't even like a review of it, and I was kind of like, this is 20 minutes of interesting, but
And I
Not
just
that
realized I
episode
said
was.
Adam Sandler, didn't I? When I said the
Sorry.
Did I did say that, didn't I? Because I think I did, and I saw Matt like laugh, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is he laughing? And then it just clicked on me. Wait, I said Adam Sandler, didn't I?
What did the buttons do? Oh, a ghost.
This is what happens when I don't have something written down in front of me. I just.
But yeah, I think it's fair to say we're all excited. We should be hopefully getting them before Christmas.
I asked that question. As of this past weekend, most of the units are on a boat on the ocean on their way to California. They can't start shipping them until all of the units hit California. So they're saying it's probably going to be close to Christmas time when they ship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe by the end of the year.
We were hoping to be able to do a reveal, a podcast where we talk about it and, actually review it and stuff like that. But we were hoping to be able to get that in for the last podcast of the year, but we'll probably have to push that off to record that in January, I'm guessing.
Stay tuned. We will get that video out as we get it.
Cliffhanger.
I will also say the Haslab booth also had the prototypes for the new Ecto 1 and Ecto 1A Haslab. With
nice.
all of the figures. The Lewis Tully looks amazing. The Ghostbusters 2 figures all look good. The cars, now keep in mind, these are, again, prototypes. I actually asked where the Stay Alive plug is on one of them. They said, well, this one doesn't actually have it yet. But the lights look incredible. The system to remove the roof and put the other roof on is really simple. It's easy to do. There's nothing to plug in. Very cool looking. I'm excited to get mine. I don't know if you guys jumped in on that. But it'll be nice to finally have a displayable Ecto 1A of some sort. I've got, a million Ecto 1s like everybody else. But I feel that the Ghostbusters 2 version has been underserved in the collector market.
Right. Yeah, because I don't think they have an Ecto 1A outside of is there a bigger one than
Playmobil.
Matchbox size?
Playmobil.
Okay, Playmobil.
There is a Playmobil one. It's very hard.
I do have that one, which is very nice for a Playmobil product.
Speaking of things you have, do you guys have any other gear or things you want to discuss? Anything new?
I came up with an idea for something for the chapter. To start playing with it soon. I think we should get a medium-sized crane machine. You can get them kind of cheap off Amazon and whatnot. And I want to get one and dress it up like a containment unit and use that as a fundraiser. Have it on the table. It's $1 for however long it lets you play. And we can 3D print a bunch of little ghosts, and people can extract ghosts out of the containment unit for charity. We could even put the occasional slime.
Yeah, the ionic separator. Yeah. we paint it yellow. We
the ionic separator. That's actually a really good idea.
I will mention one build real quick because I don't think the last time I was here I had finished this. It's kind of a
Oh yeah.
So this
Frozen
is
Empire appropriate.
Yep, the compact thrower as they call it. So this was 3D printed components, all of it, and then obviously some wires and real parts. It's got I'll show the cyclotron and the bar graph starts up. And then,
that looks awesome.
and
very hypnotic.
I don't have it attached to my arm right now, but then blasting. You probably can hear it. It might be too loud. I don't know.
Yep.
But
Yeah, can hear it.
Yeah, fun little build. Like I said, everything is 3D printed, except for some real brass parts. And then some of the electronics, and all of it's also, again, I did an Arduino. I actually had to modify the code to get the cyclotron and the some of the lights to work right, because the way they did the LEDs for the original code for the Proton Pack. So I had to change the light sequencing a little bit so it would work out here. And I actually, that modified code I uploaded to GitHub, I think is the website. So it's where the Arduino code lives, so it's free. There's some Facebook groups for Arduino Ghostbuster props. There's a post there, can lead to that link. And anyone who wants that code, just download it, use it. Should work pretty standard. But yeah,
That's awesome.
That looks amazing. Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters, back in New York City. Bad guy comes.
Yep.
They defeat him. Movie over. All right, move on.
So, I will say, here, I'll start out with something. Frozen Empire actually fixed one of my biggest gripes with Ghostbusters 2. We talked about this a little bit on the Ghostbusters 2 podcast about how Ghostbusters 2 was a bit rehashy of the original, storyline-wise, right? The going into business story, et cetera, et cetera. And that was one of my big disappointments with Ghostbusters 2 is I already saw the going into business story. I want to see them catching ghosts. I want to see, the business is running. They're out there doing their thing. And Frozen Empire was kind enough to do that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Afterlife, we got the reintroduction of the concept of the business. We met the new characters, etc. Frozen Empire, they start with the bit in 1904, and then as soon as that's over, present day, boom, Ecto 1 chasing a sewer dragon down the street. Perfect.
Yeah, because if you look at all the Ghostbusters movies, like or the original GB2, 2016, and Afterlife, yeah, this is the only one that starts with them still in business. That's amazing.
The only one that's not an origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And
It's just implied that they've been
nice
doing stuff.
I was
just
also
kicks it
one of
off.
the nerds who saw the 1904 part, and as soon as they showed the firehouse, I said, "But that's not what it looked like in 1904." It was
I was
did
just
too.
going to bring that up because because the
That
building,
should be wider.
the building
Yeah.
was built just a year before in 1903 as a 2-bay building, and then it was in 1913 they actually halved the building, which
Yeah.
I think
Why-
that's pretty impressive to just like here, let's just tear down half the building.
Didn't they physically like move the building too for like the street, something like that at that time? Like,
Well, they were
Well, that's
widening
why
the
they-
street. They were widening Barrack Street.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why they cut the building in half, was to make room for the widening of the street. Yeah, that's an impressive feat in my mind to just take a 3-story building and just cut it right in half. Just-
yeah.
Well, I mean, taking a building down is quicker than putting it up.
I wonder, was the
Yeah.
staircase bigger? Was it like wider and it was like a 2-person staircase, or was it?
it was originally like the grand staircase in the Titanic. It went up.
Yeah, it had at the bottom, it curved in both directions, and it was Art Deco. How dare they? No, I agree. I mean, you look at the beginning of that movie, to me, in general, I know some people didn't like the fact of it, but I really liked how it expanded the lore of the world, right? You started with 1904, right? With the Adventurers Society, and there's this stuff going on in the background, and then fast forward to like the sewer dragon and start building this world up, besides just being like, oh yeah, casual references to the Tobin Spirit Guide or a random possessed painting, or it really just kind of starts to make the world a little bit more fleshed out. And I really like that.
Yeah.
Even though some people are like, oh, there's too many characters. I was like, well, it's a world you want to live in.
Right. I do feel some of the new characters were a little underused. Pat
Yeah.
Oswald's character almost felt like a little bit of a throwaway, right? I expected, getting a guy like Pat Oswald, I expected a little bit more depth, a little bit more presence.
Right. Yeah, I like him as an actor, and I've always liked the roles he's played, and yeah, it would have been kind of cool to see his role be a little bit more, expanded or something, stretched out or whatever.
Yeah.
And the same with the technician guy.
James Acaster, I think is the actor.
Yeah. His character almost borders on unnecessary because he's in there so little and he's not even there for most of the final battle, right?
Yeah, he's knocked out.
Yeah, he's
Taken
being
out by
slimed by Pukey.
Yeah, well that's why at the end you see him come walking out like, did we win?
Yeah. I think
I mean, I even say some of the returning characters too. Like in this, really, Trevor and Lucky do not have much to do in this movie.
No, they don't.
They were kind of there because they were in the last one, but they didn't really do much with them.
I mean,
and Lucky in particular.
Right, and that's one of the problems you get when you do have a lot of characters. Yeah. Because then you're going to have limited screen time and lines for them.
Yeah, you look at Lucky and Trevor, and it's like their story's kind of there, but you're like, in Afterlife, they had a little bit of like, he liked her, this romance kind of building, and then in this movie it was kind of like, are they together? Are they not? Are they just friends? Which is fine. You don't need a romance story, you know. But at the same time, you're like, well, what's happened with these characters? And I do agree. But I look at that they were all over. There's a lot of characters. You couldn't go in depth with everybody, but it was one of those questions I was asking. Is like, what's going on with them besides a few lines? It kind of.
And I also wonder how much of that was their feeling that they needed to keep the original characters. Mm-hmm. At some point, they're going to have to transition away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, in the rating of all the Ghostbusters movies, I like this one. It's one of my favorites. And this, out of the five, but so it's a hard, easy scale. But I like the fact that the thinking about the future. To me, it almost seems like that transition of passing the torch, right? Like you had the two families, the original Ghostbusters, the new ones, and you're bridging the generations now, where they can get away from the original Ghostbusters, and focus more on the new Ghostbusters in hopefully future media. I think there's a lot. You run a risk though, right? Like you don't want it to be. It has to be a good movie. It can't be a transition movie, because then you're not going to get additional films.
Right. And some of that also is it's and this is where some other large franchises have fallen down in the past. You have to plan for those future movies, but you have to remember to tell the story you're telling right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think they were successful.
I think the one character that they probably could keep, from the original series is keep Winston in, but obviously his role, like in the movies, be less and less, because obviously he's the one who's, backing everything. Mm-hmm. You can see, he's got that role. Like obviously Venkman, he can be phased out.
Yeah, Bill Murray doesn't want to be there anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you could have Ray pop in for a cameo.
Ray still popping in and out.
They got to go to the bookstore for something.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the knowledge behind a lot of the, the actual spectral, side and stuff like that. And with Winston being the finance guy, so obviously, he's going to be there. But
I actually know exactly what I'd like to see Venkman doing in the next, whatever the next film is. Now that we've established that spirits can cross over once they figure their stuff out, right? We've seen Egon do it, and we saw Melody do it. I think it would be great if Venkman has an actual parapsychology practice. That's what.
Winky.
Really? Get out of here, Corey.
Welcome to the live broadcast.
But I think it would be great to have Venkman, and he's got an office set up, and that's what he does. He helps ghosts cross over because he's got
that's a great idea.
Parapsychology degree.
But I mean, I don't know but could he play that like serious role, or would he still be his like goofy self where he's got to like make fun of everything more or less?
I think he'd still be his goofy self, kind of like the scene in Frozen Empire when he's interviewing the fire master. He's throwing pens at his face. Because I think he does he'll like shock some of these spirits to understanding what it is that's holding them back, whatever it is. But I think that could be a fun thing, because he's not a physicist, right? He's a psychologist.
No. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now you got me thinking, like, there's like, the next movie, it cuts to a scene of him. He's like counseling like a ghost couple that died together.
Even if it's on the TV in the background, when they're, or something like that, like.
Because his character would totally have a TV show. He already did.
Oh, yeah. Has your loved one passed away recently and won't leave you alone? Come to Peter Venkman's parapsychology office, and they'll leave you alone.
With them coming back, and like you said, it being an actual, business that's still been thriving or working. The one thing that kind of annoyed me was like they did some upgrades to Ecto. They got it. They did some paint work on it, but like it's still filthy. Like actually they fixed the tint on the windows, because if you remember in Afterlife,
Jay, have you ever driven in New York City?
No. I'm not even talking about the outside of the car, but like the inside of the car. It's just like there's like still like an inch of dust all over the dashboard. Like like they just pulled it out of the barn. I don't know. I'm a car guy.
I saw
so
the
that,
attic
that
of the
bugs me.
firehouse.
Like,
Yeah.
Clean it up. Clean the car a little bit.
They put the new trap thing on there, but they can't fix the electronics in it that the heat goes off and they can't open the windows. Like, it's fine.
I actually find that's kind of neat. It kind of contributes to the character of the car, right? So figure in the very first one, right? First one, 1984. The car's already almost 30 years old when we start,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a piece of crap when they buy it. So it needs all this work when they bought it. It's a car. It's not going to get better with age. Certainly not the way they drive it.
Yeah, GB2 is falling apart at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Finding parts and things to fix a 59 Cadillac ambulance that there were only like 400 made in the first place.
Yeah, but we're not even talking about like body parts and stuff like that. I mean like just like the electrical work inside the car, which is pretty much universal. Anything, he couldn't, Winston supposedly this tycoon or something, whatever, with all this money, and he couldn't like throw him an extra 10 grand, say here, bring it to a shop and have them.
He's putting it all into the scientific research center in the new containment unit.
Yeah.
You don't get rich by writing checks, all right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's something that I noticed with the movie, and it was like the technology in it, and this kind of relates to the car, right? Where it's 2024, and there seems to be still using antiquated technology. All the tech seems like it's out of like the 80s, 90s. The computer screens like DOS kind of things. It's like the technology Egon used. It's like and even the containment unit, they were like, oh, it's based off Egon's design. We haven't innovated. We've just been iterating.
Well, that's because Egon was the brain behind all that scientific stuff.
Yeah.
And they haven't found somebody who can equal that, to transition that into newer technology. So they're still going off of his old stuff. Like, all right, well, we need to stick with these types of equipment because this is what we know works.
Yeah, and I think
we're not smart enough to adapt it to newer stuff.
It's like a perfect metaphor for the car, because it's like we're going to use this old car and we're just going to slap some new bells and whistles on it, a trap deployer, all these things. But the base of it, it's still 70 years old at this point or whatever. So,
but Jay, I can tell you sometimes when we do like events where our vehicles are prominent, I'll wash the outside of Ecto. I don't really clean the inside. No one's gonna see
dirty secret. Dirty secret.
Coming down a couple points, and losing a little respect here, man.
But as far as the rest of the equipment looking like it's out of the 80s, that actually tracks, because figure, right, in Afterlife, they said no one's seen a ghost in like 30 years. They said they worked themselves out of work. So the business was dormant for, decades.
Mm-hmm.
And, Egon left at some point to go out and be a farmer. So the equipment wouldn't have progressed. There was no one to upgrade it until Frozen Empire.
And they made some changes.
Yeah, they made some modifications right to the proton packs, and they talk about the enhances, but it's like the fundamental of the technology. It's like the supporting technology around it. Like, don't get me wrong, the aesthetic, I think having that retro 80s, 90s DOS based type of things with the computer programs, with the ionic separator and all that stuff, I think is nostalgic for both Ghostbusters fans that are from that generation. And I think it looks cool because it's this kind of like retro high tech. But it was just one of those things where you look at it from like an engineering standpoint, you're just like, they don't have flat screen monitors or high def stuff. It's like interesting. Okay. Well, all right. I
mean, it also kind of tracks too, because, talking with my wife who works for this, state, they're still pretty much in the DOS, world and all that. From
all right, yeah. So I'll play devil's advocate too with this. If they're still working off Egon's original designs from the 80s, maybe it only designed to work with the retro stuff from that time period, because no one knows how to upgrade it for modern equipment.
No one ever patched containment unit program for Windows.
Exactly.
And that's actually an interesting thought, I think, because you think about NASA and some of the space station satellites that are out there today. they run on some of those old, and they need to like source things from like eBay to keep running. Like, so
this is somewhere where they can take the movie, line in the future with, Phoebe getting older, maybe, if she does go to college or something like that, and get her engineering degrees and stuff like that or whatever, and maybe, she can take over.
Actually, you know what I would love to see, like in the next movie, or maybe if like they make a series or something, like a competing ghost hunting outfit. Like some genius comes along who's just as smart as Egon, and they're making all this new modern fancy ghost hunting equipment, and they're competing with the Ghostbusters.
It sounds like the premise of like Twister.
What's that?
It sounds like the movie premise of the original Twister. You got the old fashioned news, who's got weather guy who can just predict the weather by just looking up in the sky, and then you got the other competing crew coming in with all the money of all the all the networks and everything, all the fancy new equipment.
They did already with the IDW comic. There were the Ghost Smashers.
Yep.
But it could be the same kind of thing. Like they would have their downfall because they could build the equipment, but they didn't understand like the spiritual side, like the parapsychology, any of that.
Right.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good segue into some of the inspiration they took from the real Ghostbusters for Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
I did like that it had a different feel. It also, so I don't know, did anyone else look at Garaka and say this is based on Sam Hain? Did anyone else have that?
A little bit, yeah. Like that tall, thin silhouette.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And
big head.
I rather like that. I keep seeing people say, "Oh, I want to see insert character from the cartoon here in a movie. I want to see the Boogeyman. I want to see Sam Hain. I want to see this." But I feel like if they do that, no matter what they do, it'll be disappointing. It just won't translate right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were made for a cartoon world. It's just not gonna.
Yeah, and over the past couple movies with Afterlife and Frozen Empire, like you said, we're seeing, some of the ghosts and styling from the cartoons and stuff like that. It's so we're getting pieces of that. It's just not necessarily focusing on that. That's not the main, which I really like.
Yeah, I would rather see a new monster that's taken inspiration from one of those monsters.
Yeah,
and have them try to put the Boogeyman on the big screen with his gigantic head and pointy ears, and be like, "That looks stupid. That looks terrible."
Yeah, that would look terrible in real life,
right?
I don't know. They with the practical stuff, they may come up with something that's real awesome. You don't know. It might not look the same, but
it's possible.
Yeah, I do have to say, like I do agree. And I was reading one of the articles that actually Lars was pseudo inspired by Egon from the real Ghostbusters with the hair.
Oh yeah, I could totally see
and
that.
the way he looked. Yeah, so it was like definitely.
Yep. Yeah, and another thing that actually with this movie I thought was kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed, but the Cannibal Girls makes another appearance in this movie.
Family movie.
Apparently that's going to be a running thing with the Ghostbuster movies now, because right when Gary's suggesting a movie for movie night, he's holding the case, the movie case for Cannibal Girls, and I thought that was like no, again.
It was also on the marquee for the movie theater in Afterlife.
Yeah. Yep, and that was also on I think there was also a reference to it in the Answer the Call. I think that was on a marquee or something also in that movie.
Didn't Reitman direct that?
Yes, it was one of his first.
Right,
yeah. Yep.
That was I think it might have been his first.
Another thing we're missing, we haven't brought up yet. Peck is back.
Yes.
Peck is back.
Yes, he's back.
And he's the mayor.
Yeah. Of all positions, he's the mayor.
Not a judge. He's the mayor. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought that was fitting. He strikes me as the kind of guy who we already know that in Ghostbusters 2, history of 5 years ago was rewritten. So that Ghostbusters got blamed for everything.
Yeah, I mean you can definitely see that, in his life go from working for the EPA and then becoming mayor. That's definitely track.
Getting into politics, and he's sleazy enough.
Yeah.
But he's trying to close the Ghostbusters down again. I think at this point, this many movies in, we've got to stop with the, oh, it was, hallucinations. People don't believe in ghosts. There's enough evidence that they exist in this world. There are ghosts, and they are busting them.
That's something they do in so many movies, though. It's like one of the ones that stands out in my mind where they do that is Independence Day. The aliens are all invading Earth. They're attacking, blowing up cities, whatever. And
Randy
Quaid's character.
Oh yeah.
Where he's in the diner, and they're sitting there and they're all making fun of him about like, oh, what happened? Like, oh, you got abducted, And then even later on in the movie where they're sitting around the, trying to find pilots.
Yep.
And the military's like, oh, he's like, yeah, I want to get back to these guys ever since I was abducted. And they look at him like he was crazy. It's like, hello, here's the aliens. Maybe he was telling he was truth that he was abducted. And Peck just had that, gripe. He just had that feud with Venkman. Like it didn't matter. There was no amount of evidence was going to make him want to keep the Ghostbusters around. He just
all he had to do was use the magic word.
And you brought up he had that feud with Venkman. I was a little disappointed we didn't get more of that. Just like a little brief exchange at the end. That was it.
And the exchange at the end was kind of underwhelming. Like
it really was.
Who you came up with? You clown? Really?
I'm also maybe I have to rewatch it again with this perspective for Peck. Was he disbelieving in ghosts this time, or now just the fact that they are a menace? Because they just ran through the streets, they destroyed buildings, they crashed into the bikes, they rushed traffic. He knows there's ghosts. He doesn't care that they're causing problems. He's going to blame the Ghostbusters for the guys who are breaking things up. I guess I'd have to watch that again.
He just has a vendetta out for the Ghostbusters because it all ties to Venkman.
He doesn't care that the ghosts are breaking things. It's their fault they're breaking things. If the dragon would be fine. It's Middle Earth. It's going.
And even still, just like in the original, he's not wrong. But but again, they are running around with extremely dangerous technology.
And a miner hanging out of a vehicle.
Shooting them off laser-populated areas. They are very much not trained to do the job they're doing.
Yep.
And they are pretty reckless about it.
He's technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Yeah. He's a bureaucrat. It makes sense. Yeah.
Jerk.
But speaking of people and characters that are back, Slimer's back too.
Yes, back to his original design, which I liked.
Which was great, and I thought it was great, and I actually loved when Trevor first goes up into the attic. If you look in the background, you can actually see the original black and white Ghostbusters painted sign that they had in the building.
One.
Up. Yep, that's still sitting up there, leaning up against the wall. I thought that was kind of cool.
There were a lot of neat, subtle details in the firehouse. A lot of them are hard to see in the movie. You see them better in some of the special features, but you can actually see all the repairs made from the containment unit getting shut down the first time.
Yep.
The floor, different color because they patched it.
Yep. Yeah. That was another point I was going to bring up. This poor firehouse. It can't win. It just keeps getting destroyed. It's like.
It is technically the most haunted building in New York.
Technically, yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's got the most ghosts in it.
Is it by the end of this movie though?
Oh, that's
no.
That's just one big ghost.
Because I guess that kind of sets up all new movies now because they get to go out and try to recatch all those ghosts again.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah.
I meant to bring it up before we were talking about Peck because it comes up when the Ghostbusters, cause a disturbance and they're in the news and have to go see the mayor. We have like a meta moment where the news are playing like the commercials and stuff that we grew up with.
Yep. The Ghostbusters cereal.
Yeah, the cereal, the toys, and all that. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Actually, a clip of Stay Puft walking, walking through the city.
That's
Yep.
yep.
So that was that was pretty cool. Actually, you get to see the Statue of Liberty walking through the city in one of the clips.
For all those people who say that these movies don't recognize GB2.
This one does, out of all of them, definitely pulls a lot from GB2.
I feel like they made a point to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the mood slime you asked for.
Sample the mood slime. The
Yes,
slime
and
blower in the background.
Yes, you see the slime blower in the background. Were they actually hosing a person, or was that a dummy in there they were hosing?
Person, I
don't
believe,
know.
an actual person.
But
And while you bring that up too, I do like the scene where they're in Winston's like research facility. To me, it reminds me of like James Bond walking into Q's lab in the movies.
yes,
Yeah.
Just all this stuff going on in the background while they're talking about like the main problem.
but we did find one of the biggest flaws though with their new research lab. They don't even have battery backup.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
No battery
All this
backup.
money is
they're
going
back-
into this new technology, the new containment units. They actually have ghosts on display in tanks, but if they lose power, we'll have to wait a couple minutes for the generators to.
Have a guest.
Surprise guest.
She can't hear you guys.
No, he's got headphones on.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's not that they don't have battery backups. Maybe it's that their battery backups, like the rest of their tech, are from 1980.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're like
possible,
just
but
like car batteries.
you would think whatever battery system that they have should sustain long enough until the generators kick in.
Yeah. 2 minutes is like how long it took for the generator to chunk back on. It was a little long. It's a little long.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, I mean, I've worked in industries like I used to work in Verizon, and all those buildings, everything runs off of batteries all the time.
Right.
And if the commercial power goes down, it does take like a few minutes for the generators to kick on and build up enough, to start actually charging. So there usually is like a few minute delay, but you would think you would have something to help hold it over and not just like, the containment fields that are holding the ghosts in are now gone for a few minutes.
Yeah.
What would have been a really funny gag is, again, taking inspiration from the cartoon. There was an episode where they lost power, so they had Janine on an exercise bike,
Yes,
pedaling to power the containment unit. How awesome would it be? The power goes out and Lars jumps up and runs to an exercise bike in the corner and
Starts
starts
pedaling.
And then they go back to him at the end of the movie. Can I stop pedaling yet?
I do. Just before that scene where the power goes out, I do appreciate the fact where like Possessor's like banging on the glass with the chair, asking to like be played with like a pet, just insinuating they have this relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
if you
clearly
behave,
he's
I'll
thrown a
give you a
tennis
tennis
ball
ball.
yeah.
And he did. If you notice, there you can actually see he had a tube of tennis balls on the desk next to him.
No, but yeah, the battery. I had written down specifically in one of my notes, like, why isn't there a battery backup in the system?
Yeah,
But-
that's.
Yeah.
I mean, everything else stays. Like the computers. They do have some battery backup, but you'd think they'd have something at least for the most important part, the containment unit. I mean, did they not watch Jurassic Park?
Hold on to your butts.
Because I was getting a lot of that same feel, also like when they're walking around.
They
Spared
hired
no
the same
expense.
IT guy.
They kind of touched on it, in Afterlife, but obviously more so in this one, that like the ghosts, like Melody still has personality, feelings, everything,
Right.
And it's like, all right, so are they're catching these ghosts and just stick them in these containment units, like dooming, and like, are they really deserving of that? I mean, I know obviously some of them are because they're creating,
Right.
they're doing horrible things or whatever, but like Podcast really wanted Phoebe to catch Melody and just like throw her in a containment unit and like just let her sit in there for eternity.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Overall, there aren't a lot of ghosts in the Ghostbusters world that are actual people. Most of them look like monsters.
Yeah.
Like Slimer, Garaka. They don't look like people that died.
Yeah.
Well, but then you go back to the original movies. You had the jogger, you had you had the ghost. You had the ghost in the bar. The Yankees fan. He's or the Boston fan, and he's like, "How did I get in New York?"
Yeah, and you had the Scolari brothers. The Scolari brothers were human at one point.
Well, at one point, but I'm talking about like in their ghost forms. Where they're, they're actually like, they seem to have like their personalities. Like, what was that? What was that jogger ghost? Who was he really hurting? What kind of damage was he really doing? Did he really deserve to be like sucked into the containment, into the trap, and stored in a containment unit for eternity?
Yeah, I think that this movie opens up that question now, right? In those movies, you're like, oh, they're ghosts. They're clearly bad. We got to catch them. Now it's like, no. They may have personalities, and maybe you need to open up a business so you can help them pass on versus stucking them in the ghost disposal for 30 plus years until it gets full.
A little discrimination here, like.
Yeah, you got the monsters. You got the
ghost
sewer
due
dragon.
process.
Yeah, see, there we go.
So what we're saying is the original Ghostbusters were just Judge Dredd. They were jury, judge, jury, and executioner for the ghosts. So now we need.
Not where I thought we'd land with this discussion, but that's where we're at.
But funny enough, in the original, during one of the montages, one of the magazine covers they show talks about, do ghosts have civil rights?
Rights. Yep. Well, and I think
not
this
in the
movie
80s.
now, not in the 80s, yeah.
Well, I mean, with Frozen Empire, and the introduction to Melody and getting to see and actually see that she has emotions and feelings. I mean, it starts to open up a bunch of questions. Actually, I think.
Yeah,
it does.
And then maybe that's something they'll explore in future media. Hopefully, I would hope.
I mean, they in the cartoon, the real Ghostbusters. I mean, they had Slimer as their helper, not even helper, but like more of like their mascot or whatever. But they realized he was friendly and kept him around, and you kind of got that impression too here. With Trevor, he's like, "Hey, I know that guy," like.
I know that guy!
So, I mean, it could be something that I can see the franchise dive into a little bit more down the road.
Yeah, getting more into the monsters and
maybe having some ghosts actually work with them to help them identify and track, the bad ghosts.
That's something that needs to be like a 10 episode like mini series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like a thing you need to expand on. That's too much to put into a movie.
Yeah.
This is kind of on topic with Frozen Empire. I do feel like the way that Frozen Empire was great, but as a movie, we talked about it before. A lot of characters, a lot of potential subplots that were just they didn't even try to go into. Not enough time. But if this was like a 10 episode series on some sort of series where you have you have 10 plus hours to go into all that stuff, I think it would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would actually like to see I'd like to see a Monster of the Week type show.
I think we need to.
They're always dealing with world-ending threats. I want to see them do something smaller scale.
That was actually I was talking about this a while back. I'd like to see the next movie be a good haunted house story.
Yeah,
and it's a single call. You can have the OGs at the beginning. Maybe they get their briefing from Ray. We got this call. This is what we think we're dealing with. This is where you go. And what a great way to kind of phase out the old characters and really focus on the new characters, because the old characters don't go on those calls.
Yeah.
Once they get to the house, it's just them.
And that too, you can maybe lean it in a little more to go on just a little scarier.
Yep.
Yeah. Play up the horror, because again, if the horror is elevated, the comedy gets elevated with it, because it's that same tension build and then release mechanic.
Hey, if we can't get Jason Reitman on our show, we need to get like somebody from Ghost Corps or somebody so we can shoot them there. Like, hey man, look, trust us, this will work. You need to have like
pitch.
do a deal
got this
with
great
like,
idea.
Netflix or Amazon.
At least 4
Prime
people will
or
watch
somebody. And then I don't know if anybody else noticed, but the library administrator, that wasn't going to let Ray in was the original. I thought that was kind of cool to bring him back, even though it was such a small role.
Yeah, that was a blink and you miss it cameo. It took me a minute. I'm like, oh, that's the same guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Ray literally says, "Oh, it's been a while," it really was.
Good to see you, buddy.
Can't be within 50 feet of the library.
I don't get why Ray's not allowed to go back in the library. They didn't really destroy the library the last time they were there.
We don't know what he's done in the library.
I mean, unless we know.
30 years. It's a long time.
But obviously, they didn't go back and catch the library ghost because she's still there.
Yeah,
it's true.
I was see the library ghost and a little disappointed that it was kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah,
it almost didn't even make sense the way they used.
It just felt like a little nostalgia baby kind of thing. Yeah. Like, oh, there's the library ghost.
Yeah, again, it was just something to throw in there. I mean, because again, that's another topic that a lot of fans have talked about. Oh, hey, did they ever go back? Because obviously in the first movie, they never went back to catch the ghost. Like, did they ever go back afterwards? And we got our answer here. Obviously, no, because she's been there the whole time. And I did learn that the lions out front have names with patience and fortitude. Which I thought was going to be a question maybe on the quiz.
It should have been a trick question. It would have been like, which one wasn't destroyed? And you'd been like,
patience
oh, man.
wasn't destroyed.
Fortitude
got destroyed.
Then why'd you shoot Fortitude in the face?
Children love the lions.
Yeah.
And funny too, before we when a bunch of us went into the city to see the movie, at the Regal 4DX theater, we stopped by the library on our way through and just happened to get our photo in front of Fortitude without really thinking much of it, I believe. I didn't think the lions were going to be back in the movie.
And then you're in the movie and you're like, hey,
I was just right there.
Yeah, yep. I was going to say, we haven't talked about that character, the Fire Master. I thought he did a great job with the way that they delivered the character, and that he's been in a lot of different things recently, and I enjoy him in everything I've seen him in. But the delivery of his lines of that almost begrudging hero or begrudging person's like, I don't want to be here.
Oh, Camille Nanjiani.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, because when they first go into his apartment and he's like, he's like, oh, I got, I sell stuff. I got all this stuff, and then he's talking about, was it a drawing or something, a painting, a picture on the wall or something like that? And he's like, yeah, I really, that's really, I really can't. That's not for sale. I can't really sell it. What's your offer? Just like, just real
I
casual.
just can't part with it for less than $50.
Yeah. It was like, we're not looking for a refund. It was like, oh, then come on in.
So I don't know. I got mixed feelings on that one, because one of the things I really enjoy about the Ghostbusters concept in general is they're fighting the supernatural and occult forces strictly through scientific methods. Like, they are explaining the unexplained. They are finding the actual physics reasons why these things can do what they can do.
True.
And figuring out how to exploit that through technology. Even with the mood slime, yes, they did use the mood slime, which was a supernatural thing, but they figured out how it works. They broke it down to its mechanics.
Right, but they would not have been able to stop or capture Garako without the Fire Master's assistance, though.
Right. So I feel like they.
And if you want to keep it purely scientific, you could even and you want to bring his character in as a Ghostbuster, say, you could say after Garako was defeated, his Fire Master abilities just diminished because there was no need for them.
Or to your point, how do you use science to harness his powers better, right? They're supernatural beings. How does he come in with like a flamethrower thing, and he's all geared up and he can control the fire with his magic, but we've amplified it with technology.
Kind of like Cyclops in X-Men, where they give him the visor so he can focus his.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he could have a proton pack that it's just like it runs like a pack, but his powers can like amplify it maybe,
Yeah.
or in place of a proton beam.
So I guess a more scientific or pseudo-scientific explanation of why he can do what he can do, and I feel like that would have fit in a little bit better with the things they've done.
They kind of brushed on that with getting the PK reading on him, meaning that he could be possessed or something like that. But
yeah, and I think to your point, they could have made like they talk about the other folklore creatures and things like that from that have control of the fire and other unique abilities, and it kind of thinks now it's like, all right, it's they're psychically energy charged beings. Well, why is it? And to your point, right? Could they explain that in a scientific type way? And now they find these, they gather their psychically charged X-Men to come fight Ghost with them.
Yeah. You notice too when Nadeem is practicing his, trying to master his fire technique, and Ray gives him his lighter. You guys notice that it looks like he's got a Mason symbol on that lighter, which also looked very similar to the logo that was on the Adventurers sign from the beginning of the movie.
I did not.
Like there's like a connection between Ray and these guys or something like that, or.
So I don't know. You're right. There's some symbol on it. It's unclear in the movie, but I've seen people on like websites selling replicas of like it is that same insignia, and I just don't know if that's true or not. But I haven't looked through the.
Yeah, because I've tried. I watched the movie a bunch of times, and I kept pausing it, and I couldn't get a clear shot. Obviously, and
you have to remember too, Ray has a shop where he buys weird stuff.
True.
That's true.
He could have picked that up anywhere.
Which also kind of made me think, how did Ray not know about the Adventurers Club? Ray being into the kinds of things Ray is into, having been in New York owning an occult bookshop for the number of years he has, this is the first time he's hearing that story? When Patton Oswalt
maybe Patton Oswalt was the expert and he was doing it for the benefit of the kids.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like he's like letting the kids learn about it and that mystique. But...
That could be.
I mean, it's not a great explanation, but it's all I can think of.
And there's so much that any one person can take in. He's not going to be able to know everything about everything that goes on in New York City over the past 100 years.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Speaking of the library scene, I did think it was interesting how you think of the previous movies, Ghostbusters 1 and 2, the explanation of the beast or the bad guy is always like kind of almost a quick 2-second line, like, oh, the Gozer was this from the Mesopotamian, or oh, this is the story we have on my computer about what Vigo was. They do like this whole cut scene of like this cinematic, and I thought that was an interesting just thematic approach to doing that, like from a storytelling mechanic.
Yep. It was definitely it was like it made it more entertaining. They might have done that for kids to keep them interested. But yeah, it was different. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought that was the really cool way to describe everything.
Yeah, and it also allows the audience to actually catch the whole history. I know in Ghostbusters 2, the only way you're reading that the computer readout about Vigo is if you can pause it.
But we actually got introduced to a new Ecto vehicle too. We got Ray's Ecto C, which was pretty cool. Which was actually brought up because if you notice, the license plate had an registration or an inspection sticker of. I think it was March 1985 was the last time it was registered. So, which meant he had created it or had it shortly after the first movie. And, it was put away in storage or something like that before the second movie came out.
Well, he probably drove it around. You just don't get caught. It's fine. You can drive any car without a registration as long as you don't get caught, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is
don't take legal advice from me. I'm not a lawyer.
He had it registered back in 85. and
Right.
and the plate was Ecto C, so it was already created as an Ecto, and so he had it before Ghostbusters 2 came out.
You also had the Ecto Z, which I know isn't as flashy as the utility van that had all the proton packs in it. That was the engineering van. So it was another Ecto-esque device, even though it's very more subtle.
Like it was primarily just a transport vehicle for equipment, and from the looks of it.
Yeah, utility truck.
Yeah, and
They get two
bringing
people
that
in the
up,
front, and that's it.
and bringing that
I will
up,
say
that brings out the whole new proton pack styling. Just like the one Steve's got there behind him.
Yep.
With the cyclophone.
I like calling it the tri-bumper.
You can calling it whatever you want, but
when I first saw that, I did not like it, but it has grown on me, and I actually really do like that now.
Yeah, I'm still indifferent on it.
That's where I like the visual. From a visual standpoint, there's more visual complexity with the yellow, and for whatever reason, yellow and black caution tape to me has become like it's like peanut butter and jelly with Ghostbusters, and it has that feel to it with the yellow and black.
I will say I wish they had left the caution striping on the Ecto on Ecto 1. I would actually like to see them do something like they did in the video game with Ecto 1B.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite Ecto styles. Just the caution striping in the original logo and elements of
kind
both.
of amalgam.
I mean, with more ghosts out on the loose now, more Ghostbusters, actually, I mean, in upcoming movies, the possibility of having multiple Ectos in one movie, I think would be, and then that would be a great way to introduce like an Ecto 1B or something,
Yep.
Not to mention gas prices being what they are. 7 miles to the gallon? Really?
No, I think it'd be cool, especially with, I growing up in Westchester County and spending a lot of time in New York City and in college in Hoboken, like it was fun seeing like the different locations, the filming locations. Like this was, they were in Manhattan and they were in was it Columbus Park, and then the different bridges, and then seeing that they were going over like the Verrazano to Staten Island, and then he's talking, my apartment in Queens. It was fun to see the different, it wasn't just Manhattan. New York is bigger than that. And to your point, with the more ghosts out there, different locations, maybe we have a different Ecto, in the different boroughs.
I do have to point out though that there was a lot more, like chase scenes in this movie than any of the ones in the past, and each time those streets seem to be a lot more deserted than I've ever seen any of the streets ever were in New York City. Like, man, they got a lot of room to drive around in those roads. Where's the traffic? But going back to Nadeem and the whole Fire Master thing, one of my favorite scenes with him was his grand entrance.
Hold on. Okay.
As the Fire Master.
Down the fire
sliding down that hole. He's just like...
I do like the scene where Lucky and Trevor come downstairs and he's there and he's like, "Can we get one of the adults up here?"
Yeah, how about one of the adults to protect me?
Now, one thing I didn't catch until the second watch through is before we find out he's a Fire Master. When he first sells all the stuff to Ray, he goes outside and there's a hot dog cart behind him. Yeah. And the fire in the hot dog cart starts to spark up.
Yeah, you see the guy, the operator, or the, behind there, like starting to freak out, like what's going on, like.
And you can kind of see the flame just kind of creeping towards him a little bit, like it's bending to him. I didn't catch that till the second watch either.
Yeah,
it was very well done. There's no reason to catch it the first time. You have there's nothing to tie that together.
Yeah, and then when he walks off camera, you see the fire then change direction and start blowing towards him again as he's walking away.
I just wanted to bring up my biggest gripe with this movie, and I do like this movie, but my biggest gripe is that the Frozen Empire part doesn't come in until like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I would have been much happier if it happened like half hour in, and then they have to deal with all this, like the pack's not working in the cold and all. Like, I wanted to see
Yeah.
that, like basically like winter survival Ghostbusters.
I was gonna say, I
throughout
think you
most of
just
the
wanted
movie.
to see it to justify your jacket. That's
Yeah,
what
we're
you just
lower
wanted to
kids.
see your jacket on more screen time.
Well, I'm with you on that. Also, from the trailers, right? They kept saying, "Oh, every ghost we've ever caught has escaped." It sounded like that's what the movie was going to be
Yeah,
about, and it's
Well,
like the
they
containment
circumvent-
unit freezes, explodes, and that's the movie.
yeah,
I think they could have well, the trailers they did that whole circumvented expectation by leading us the wrong way. But I do agree, right? It could have really shown the
yeah,
power of Garaka as the
Hmm.
orb was found. Like it's supposed to be summer, and they're like, "Oh, we're plunging into a cold," and now it's like it's July. It's not 1,000 degrees out in New York City. It's for some reason it's getting colder and colder as it goes on, and then you
yeah.
get into
Yeah.
this, and then when he releases, it becomes the massive chill. It's like
Yeah, you
I mean,
did
could
get.
have ramped it up.
I do remember from the previews thinking that it was going to be, that was going to be like towards the beginning of the movie where everything starts freezing over.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they could have. I thought the plot with Melody convincing Phoebe, not convincing, but like kind of getting Phoebe to pull herself out to speak the word was very convoluted. They could have just like when they tried to pull Garaka out of the orb, that set it off.
Yeah.
They could have just done that there and gone forward.
yeah, because I was wondering that too with Melody and Phoebe. Was the whole time when Melody first appeared to Phoebe, was she already then being controlled by Garaka, or was it later on after they first tried to pull and like awoken him?
I
Because
don't-
they
I
don't.
don't
I
know.
assumed it was from the get-go.
But
Yeah.
there is a part too where Melody is walking down the road and Garaka's talking to her. I'm like,
Right,
how's he talking to her if he's trapped in the orb?
Right.
right.
Well, I think
That
that's
confused
the-
me. I'm like, is
They
he?
insinuate.
Well-
Yeah, sorry. I think there was like the orb was that's why I was in that deafening room. Like he can communicate to ghosts
Yeah.
outside of it. He just doesn't have his full power. So that's why it was
Right.
like isolated. But when it was out, it started to influence. He could influence the ghosts. But
Okay.
but to your point, I was actually thinking about this today when we were going to talk about it. I was like, what was Garaka's plan to get out of the orb? Like he had okay, I'm in the orb. I'm free. I can talk to ghosts now. Let me go convince a Ghostbuster to go use a machine that I don't know exists to separate from their soul, so then I could then control her ghost to speak the magic words to release me. But
Yeah.
then also I'm going to send Possessor to go get this wax cylinder that maybe I know what it is, exists somewhere, and go use it. It was
Mm.
like what was his master
Yeah,
plan to escape?
Yeah, I don't know how that connection was to get to
Yeah.
the wax cylinder, like how that,
Mm,
and then also like, I mean, obviously Garaka finds out about this, the spectral, the equipment in their science labs there
Yep.
when
Yep.
they finally bring the orb, when Ray finally brings the orb to them. And I always kind of took it as that, like, when they first put the orb in the machine to try to withdraw, whatever was inside there, that I always thought that that's what woke him up, or, got him to start. And that's when he started to reach out, and he already had realized that this one ghost had made contact with Phoebe, who has a connection to this lab. So that's why I was kind of wondering, like, was that at the point where it started, or because I mean, in my head that would make more sense, but I still don't have a
Yeah.
connection how he knew about this.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that whole thing with him getting out could have been streamlined just a little bit
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
moved up a little bit in the plot.
Hmm.
That was the other thing that bothered me about that was I would actually argue the entire thing at this time was actually the Ghostbusters' fault, right? So Nadeem
Yeah.
brings the orb into Ray, and it doesn't just trigger the PKE meter; it explodes it.
Yeah.
So clearly, there's something significant inside this orb. Maybe it's in there for a reason. Let's not mess with it. Like,
Yeah, you would think Ray would have been a little more apprehensive when that
Yeah.
happened. Like,
the whole the level of irresponsibility was so high.
So
Yeah.
this
Like, he
this
didn't-
review is now called "Oh shit, Peck was right."
Yeah.
Like I said, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah. He's technically right. We all admit that. It's just we don't want him to be.
Yeah, this was the first one where I got to the end of the movie. I was like, yeah, it's great that they fixed all this, but they actually caused it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then she released it. It was her fault. It was released. It was.
Yeah.
Which they brushed over. They were like, "How do you get out?" "Oh, don't worry about it. He's out." I'm like, "Oh, let's not."
So yeah, that was my major plot gripe. That, and I wanted Garaka to come in a little earlier. Like I want to see like a true empire within, and all, like we said, all the ghosts, and that would have been great.
Well, that's just it. Also, they, again, from the trailers, it implies that they're going to fight this army of ghosts. And at the end, he shows up with like Pukey and the Possessor, and that's it.
Yep.
And apparently, he can't control Slimer.
And how does the Possessor? I mean, is he really destroyed by just getting eaten by Slimer? Does that really end the Possessor?
Sure, hope not, because a lot of that pizza also ended up on the floor.
Yeah.
Right, that's true too.
Because he doesn't devour the whole pie; a bunch of the slices fall out.
But that's kind of what's implied. Like all of a sudden, like the Possessor's gone just because he got eaten by Slimer.
Yeah, and I think there's an ambiguous. Did he get completely destroyed? Can you destroy a ghost like that by eating the organic?
Another ghost by eaten by another ghost.
I think there were two. For me, there were two things. Like, not the big plot we talked about. Questions on why they did what it was. From like a science standpoint, I think John, we've talked about this before. The melting of the brass in the on the stove top with like a blowtorch, and I get it. It's a movie. Not everybody realizes that's really not how you're gonna melt brass. It's not gonna melt that fast.
Yeah,
but
I don't think a map gas torch is gonna get hot enough to melt brass. Considering I use map gas at work almost every day, so it doesn't get that. It gets hot, but.
And I was reading something too, like apparently when you melt it, it can off gas like some toxic stuff. So it could be probably not good. They're doing it in the firehouse, but that's it.
So maybe the whole end scene was just a giant hallucination.
Hallucination. There it is. That's
from the toxic gases.
Well, not to mention that. Okay, so she gets the idea that the brass can contain entities, right? And so she just starts coating internal parts of a proton pack with it. I had some issues with that too, like just coating it. Like I brass plated the proton pack, so now it can capture.
It works in the video games, man.
Yeah, I think there was like a quick throwaway line by Lars that was something like, the reason the proton packs didn't work on Garaka is because it's like, well, he's like a god, like the different. I forget what he said, like or atom composition or something, right? So I guess maybe coating it changes it and makes it this new green color that can catch gods.
I also love the fact that their solution to, oh no, the proton pack doesn't work on him, is to just fire more proton packs at him.
I'm trying to tell you guys, our throwers are useless.
Yeah, and it's pretty impressive that he can actually freeze proton streams.
Yes.
I actually thought that was a cool effect.
It was a very cool effect. I like that.
That was the other thing. Everything that's like, oh, the orb became absolute zero and it froze people, and I'm like, that, you're gonna have a lot of physical damage if you're at absolute zero from like an organic tissue standpoint. But obviously, it's a movie, so I will suspend my belief there that they could freeze at absolute zero, and then when it warms up, they're fine. So, but.
That was one of my biggest gripe. The end scene there, where they pretty much every single one of them in the firehouse literally freezes solid, like not solid, but they're frozen. They're not moving. I mean, even Phoebe is like stiff as a board.
Yeah,
everybody's like, "Oh, hey!"
I think the end scene was a little underwhelming,
a little rushed.
Yeah,
I did enjoy the whole the family coming together to keep him captured and coming and then the OGs downstairs trapping him. I love that. I like that whole aspect. It gives me that tingles of that family coming together moment you see in those movies.
I did love Venkman's, like cutting Ray off, like, just pretend I don't know. Yeah. And like, all right, look, we trust you, just do it, like, just like, we don't need to hear the science mumbo jumbo, just do it.
I also don't know how I felt about them having to physically force the handle down.
Yeah,
that whole thing, even from the beginning when Callie and
Gary was having a hard time. Yeah,
like, if it's full, it's full. I would think you just pull the handle down and either the trap wouldn't empty or stuff would start leaking out. Like, I was half expecting them to be like hauling on the handle and the whole handle snaps off.
Yeah, I think that would happen in real world.
But it had that cool effect that they were all together and they were just
they all come together
to create a reverse the whatever to suck Garaka in, and then the big metal tube just like reshuts on it like a trap because it's designed to do that. But anyway, it's a movie.
That's exactly how metal.
You gotta look past a lot of that stuff because I mean overall the movie was great. It was highly enjoyable.
I was definitely entertained.
Yes, definitely. Definitely will watch it again. I'll give it a little while since I watched it so much leading up to tonight, so it might be a little while.
Well, I guess from your guys, what would you this would be the last review of the of the 4 primary universe movies. How would Matt and Jay, how would you guys rate them when you're in your order? What would be 1 through 4?
I don't know. I mean, obviously 1 and 2, are like my favorites. Again, mostly because they were the originals. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what we were first introduced to. That's, I've been experienced, they've been part of my life for 30 and, 35, 40 years, for each movie. So obviously those are like my favorite and, but I can't really, I don't know. I don't know if I could really put them in order. I can't. I like them as a whole. Mm-hmm. I know Matt doesn't, but I even the 2016 Answer the Call. I enjoyed it. I mean, that was not my most favorite, but I mean, I love it for what it is, and so I don't know. I can't really put them in order.
I mean, if I was pressed to put them like in ranked order, it'd be the original, GB2, Frozen Empire, then Afterlife, then the old show from the 70s with the gorilla in the hat, and then Answer the Call.
Really? You like Frozen Empire more than Afterlife, huh?
Yeah, I like Afterlife for what it is. Like it's a good like reset movie to get the franchise kind of going again. But it leaned a little too hard into like the nostalgia stuff, which it kind of had to do, but overall, like just Frozen Empire, like it just gets going. You're in the world, you know what's going on. It's just, it's a good like supernatural comedy action type movie. Afterlife is more like a comedic drama almost. There are parts that make you cry. So
well,
I once heard it described as more like an 80s Spielberg movie.
But I think we've kind of touched on everything we want to touch on in the movie. I'm sure there's a lot more we could discuss because at this rate we could have done a play-by-play watching the whole movie because I think this is about the same runtime.
All right, it is now time to go back to our Quizmaster Corey for the answers to our segment. There is no Dana, only trivia.
All right,
hey,
Corey,
up,
these have been stumping my mind all night, so I would need to know if I'm right or not here.
All right, we'll dive right into it. So the first question was, what was the name of Ray Stance's new video series where he interviews people who claim to own haunted objects? Everyone show the camera their answers.
I went with haunted objects.
Repossessed.
Yeah, Repossessed.
Repossessed is correct. All right. Question number 2. Where does Podcast tell his parents he is visiting for the summer instead of where he actually is in New York City?
He went to space camp.
Yes. And the answer was space camp. Everybody got that. All right. All right. Question number 3. What is the name of the machine found at the Paranormal Research Center used to remove ghosts from haunted objects and also later used by Phoebe to temporarily unalive herself or spirit walk?
This is the one I'm relatively certain I
No idea.
Ionic
Ghost
separator.
extractor.
Ionic separator is correct.
Samsonite. I was way off.
See, I mean, I remember making a joke about it a while ago, and I was like, I have to get this right. So this was like weeks ago, so it's stuck in my head. So I'm lucky. That's all it
I
is.
also would have accepted ghost vacuum. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, question number 4. Nadim's family is from a long line of ancient Ghostbusters known as the Fire Masters. Centuries ago, they trapped Garaka in an orb crafted from what material? Brass is the correct answer.
I saw Matt's answer with bronze, and I was like, "Oh man, that's what." No, I was wrong.
Yeah, that was like, what alloy was it? Was it brass, bronze?
I basically
Combination
flipped
with
the coin
brass.
on that. It was like brass or bronze. I'm like, I'm going to guess.
Also, the grandmother's sex dungeon was all covered in brass.
That's right.
This is true. This is true.
That was all right. We'll leave that for the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, final question. What is the final object we see the possessor ghost inhabit before it seemingly meets its end? Pizza. Okay, everybody got that one correct. And how about the bonus question? What is the second to last object we see possessed by the possessor? Yes, Neutrino Wand or Proton Pack. I accept both.
I was specific.
Steve,
It
some
was
pizza
the
box.
first part.
See, I thought there was a trick there.
Yeah, it actually went right from the pack to the pizza. So, okay, the numbers are in. The winner of trivia this month is Steve with 100 points.
Oh,
Man.
Yeah.
Good job,
Be
Steve.
perfection.
Second place, Jason with 90 points.
Hey!
I'll take it as a win.
Third is John with 70 points and Matt with 50 points. Everyone did awesome. That was really good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me on again, and you guys enjoy the rest of the podcast. I will talk to you later.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
Corey.
Thanks, Corey.
Have a good night.
All right, that is going to wrap up episode 10 of Hudson Valley Slime Time. If you enjoyed listening to us and the things we've talked about, please do like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us by email, podcast@hvgb.org. For more information about booking Hudson Valley Ghostbusters for one of your events in the future, you can contact us through our website, hvgb.org. Plus, you can follow, like, and message us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and we're also on TikTok. If you're listening to this podcast and are interested in having Ghostbusters at your next event, but you're not in the Hudson Valley area, you can go to the Ghostbusters directory, whoyougonacall.org, and on there you will find a nicely organized directory by state to find your local Ghostbusters group.
Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode as much as I have. It's been a lot of fun.
We had a lot of laughs in this one.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on this movie or anything else Ghostbuster related in the comments. Remember to help show your support. Visit our online store at redbubble.com. Type HVGB in the search bar. You'll find a lot of amazing merchandise. I've got several examples here behind me. And actually stay tuned because I actually have some really awesome designs that I'm currently working on that hopefully will be in the store here soon. Yeah, and we're getting to that point where those purchases will make excellent Christmas gifts. So,
Or Hanukkah.
Or Hanukkah, any holiday gift.
Yeah, birthdays.
Exactly, and a portion of each purchase goes to charity, so you're helping out and looking stylish at the same time. The easiest way to support us is to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'd like to thank Steve and John for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you
us.
guys.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And Corey for coming up with those amazing questions. Yep. So until next time, as usual, have fun and play with slime.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
But yeah, no.
My answer
Anybody
for everything's going to be Swedish Chef.
You know what? I expected essay. And if you looked at this note in my phone, it'd be like, what is this? It's Robert Frost, 1904, Ladder 8, Manhattan Adventure Society, Hell's Kitchen, Sewer Dragon, Nuclear Accelerator, Laser Gun, Her Step Teacher, Ender 3, Tacos, Cannibal Girls, Cheetos, Repossessed, Harold's Watch, Strange But True, World's Weirdest News Stories. It just goes on of these random things.
Are we recording right now?
We are.
All right, good. Because I think Steve's list of things he thought were going to be asked about has to be in the blooper reel at the end.
Oh, I could go on. There was Boop, Tenement Fire, Died, Face Melt Off Before Crisp, Melody's Diner, Echo Z, Pinfield, 80s Didn't Care About the Future, Triborough Aquarium, Parabotanist, 5 containment units, 3 to 7 years to move traps from the old containment to the new ones. There was a doll first that was in the ionic separator. Baklava was the food that he was asking for at the diner. She was wearing a Cubs t-shirt. Drone. Ray was eating a Twizzler.